Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mark Loeffler Experience. We got our good friend Andrew Hines, fresh off having babies, or baby. And if he's a little groggy, don't worry about him. That's the problem. He's not hungover or anything.
Mark's leading the show today.
Yeah. In today's show, we're going to be talking about, we're going to do a review of 2021. What happened, why we think some of that happened, and what that means moving forward for us as real estate investors and homeowners and people who are going to get into the market.
Banner year, as we said before the video started.
Everyone loves it when I sing, so should I sing for everyone?
You should definitely.
We're having a record year. I know, off key, off tone, I don't know. Who knows? It sounds good in my head.
Well, that's all that matters.
Yes, that's all that matters sometimes.
So obviously, I mean, the year was more sales. That's the moral of the story, right? People want houses, and there aren't seemingly enough. And I know you did a video a while back where you pointed out that we're 2 million houses short in Canada. And I think that's a big part of this.
That 2 million houses to get to the average of the G7 nation, yeah. Right? That many houses to catch up. Yeah. To be an average, not the best.
Yeah, just average. Right in the middle, yeah.
2021. So we don't have the national statistics yet for number of houses sold, but the record, the best year we've ever had on MLS residential sales was about 550,000, which was 2016. Up until the end of November, we were 630, or no, what was the number? We have it here. 630,000. So we had 630,000 sales. So that's well and above what we did. So 2020 was 520,000. Mm-hmm. Now, was some of that, some of that could have been some, pressure from 2020 moving into 2021.
Yeah.
Some people didn't buy.
Had a little pent up, right? As we knew, and we were tracking that at the time. It was a little pent up because of the initial lockdown and such. But it definitely carried strong into 2021, and that's a crazy number, 630. So we're already up of like 100,000 more than any of the previous record years.
Yeah,
and we have one more month.
And December was a good month in most places. Like Calgary had a record month.
Yeah.
Like they sold the most houses of any December ever in Calgary. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I mean, you do the math there, like that number is going to top out at 680.
Maybe 700.
I doubt 700 because December.
It's usually a weaker month. Yeah.
Well, there's just no inventory.
Yeah.
Right. Like we've went through that. We'll link the video down below for the housing market update just in Southern Ontario and showing the severe lack of inventory. Like I was running numbers on a 3-bedroom detached house in Oakville. And I was looking for what's actively to compare it against. It. There are no 3-bedroom detached properties for sale in Oakville right now.
That's absolutely insane.
Like zero. I'm like, you want to be the only one. Let's get this on. Like, let's do this.
Yeah, you're setting your own price these days.
Yeah. So, another recap. 2021 average price went up across the board 25.4%.
Yeah. Which I think we were like 17% on 2020 or somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are 2 big years.
Those are 2 monstrous years, right? Like average year is like 4 to 10% a good year.
Yeah.
And then we've had a 17 and a 25.
Mm-hmm. So
I guess some of the questions would be, how sustainable is that? What's causing it?
Well, yeah, so the root, obviously, I think, we see the immigration happening. We have 400,000 people coming to the country every year, but we don't have enough housing, as we pointed out before. We're short housing to begin with. It's obviously driving a large portion of the situation. Combine that with the low interest rates, as we've said before. That's a big part of this, too. But then, this is where the question of sustainability comes up, and we look at supply chain and how much new inventory can we bring on. Are we going to see another record sales year in 2022? And I don't think that we necessarily are going to see that much of a change just because of that lack of inventory, because of how difficult it is to complete houses right now.
So CMHC, I think, is calling for not a reversal,
but a reduction in sales.
Yeah.
And that would make a lot of sense. I mean, if that were to come true. And now it's not that CMHC has been overly accurate lately.
So they forecasted for 2021 a high of 650,000, which I think, again, we're going to blow that out of the water. So they actually are calling for a low of 650 and a high of 675. So 2022.
Yeah.
So they are forecasting for it to grow year over year. And to be honest with you, they're forecasting that to grow into 2023 too.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more homes sold.
Yeah, I can see it. It's definitely possible. It'll all just come down to how much of these supply chain issues are going to slow down the actual completion of new homes. That'll be the big question.
Yeah.
We just got to get that inventory up if we want to control these prices, and that'll be the question.
Obviously, you see new homes at the beginning, right? So they're saying 230,000 new homes on the high end. I did the video. I don't remember. We were right around that number, maybe a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And like same thing, like 234,000 for 2022. Combine that with your 670. I mean, that's $900,000 transactions.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah. Also, it's not including the new homes.
No, new homes are at the top there. They're 230,000.
So separate from the MLS transactions.
Okay. Yeah, and start might not be a finish, right?
Sure.
Like if you're building a condo building,
could go on for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with the houses too, right? If you just can't get something, like I know in my business, I just see that there's just this one thing I can't get. So fortunately for me, I'm pretty flexible. I'll just sub something in. But certain buyers aren't okay with that. But small portion of the market. But this is a really indicative page because it really does summarize the problem. Because if we know our number, I think it was 1.2 over 3 years of immigration, so 400,000 a year, and we're only adding 200 extra houses. There's the problem right there.
Wow.
We have 200 extra people coming in, 200,000 that there are no homes for them.
Yeah.
So that's why when people talk about a crash, I do find it a little humorous right now because these people are still coming in unless something policy-wise changes and stops these people from
Well, so let's talk about this. Yeah. So the Liberal policy is to let 400,000 people come into the country. And by the way, I'm not anti-immigration. I think it's actually a good thing.
Well, there are benefits.
I think we need it economically.
But why do we need it economically?
Well, because we're going to shrink like Japan if we don't. We
need maybe some. I do agree with what you're saying to a certain degree. It's just at what cost? That's really what it's coming.
Well, I think the issue here is that. I mean, hell, bring more people in. They can build their own houses, and tradespeople, and bring people in. But it's the policy of the local areas that is like, well, we don't want more people here, or no, we're not letting you take down that single family home and put a five-story apartment building, right? Or then that's what's really needed. Like you go to any of these major areas, it's not like they're sprouting towers all over the place. They have 5-story walk-up buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
And people they'll live in one unit and rent out the other ones, or.
Well, I think the intensification is coming still, though. Like even in Burlington, I mean, there's a lot of new towers going up, but you couldn't keep up with that 400,000 coming in on an annual. At least they don't seem to be. Yeah.
So you're telling me that these home builders, if they could, number one, get the land, get it zoned, get the permits, they couldn't build it fast enough.
That remains to be seen whether they will be able to build it. It'll be all dependent on materials. Do you not think that a lot of the holdup is? Well, I know labor is an issue, but if they could build, they would probably just pay more to build, right? Because the labor is such, I think, a small portion of their cost. I mean, it's not insignificant, but it's not. It seems like a pretty big cost when I see it. But I mean, because the trades these days set their price because they know everybody wants them. Like this is what I deal with on a daily basis, trying to get good people in. Is like they have a bunch of different people they work for that they like. So it's who pays me the fastest, who's the nicest to me, who lets me not clean up after myself on the job site. So there's so many layers to this onion that we could dig into. But it's not that I don't think that they could keep up. We'll see how that plays out. As long as supply can keep up here this year, and then as far as labor goes, I would love it if we immigrated more people who are skilled labor. I don't know if that's really happening or if that's coming to fruition.
Well, I mean, that's what the whole, like, what I think is happening. I mean, it's an economic.
Yeah.
Most of the people are coming over there are economic, right? So they're coming over to fill a role. So there's like whatever 10 things that are on the, I don't know what they are, but they're coming over and they're like, okay, you're a bricklayer. We need bricklayers.
That'd be a good episode. We do a little. What are the 10 things that they're
well, I mean, we can have our friend the immigration lawyer come on and let us know what those are.
Yeah, that'd be a really cool episode.
Yeah, Melissa. Melissa, if you're watching, hit me up. Let's do this. Obviously, I don't know, you watched the video that I did on the Liberals, their mandates coming down.
Yeah.
So they're immigrating people, and then they're trying to manufacture a house price decrease is what it looks like
through taxation, and we know how that always plays out, right? You can't fix a market with taxation. You've got to stimulate that that economy, like the Adam Smith invisible hand. Let that economy run itself. Let it go. So it's funny. Like, I know you brought it up. You mentioned it's like they're not paying attention. I totally agree. It's like the most obvious things are getting missed in this. Like, we're immigrating 400,000, but we only produce 200,000 new houses. That kind of thing. You can't fix that problem with taxes.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's again, I don't know. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face. Like, there has to be a coordinated effort through multiple levels of government to fix a glaring problem. Like, if it's glaring to you and I, then, like, these are people we elected to lead us. Should it not be glaring to them? They should have some of the smartest people in Canada helping them to make these decisions, right? Like, I mean, I this sometimes gives me a loss for words because I don't understand.
Perfect way to describe it. Lost for words. I would agree. That's the best way to describe it because it just doesn't make sense. But, the one thing I've heard, which does make a lot of sense, someone said to me, is like, the really critical thinkers, talented. I'm not saying that politicians can't be. They can be awesome, but most of the people who are entrepreneurial and really think like this, they go out and they make something.
Yeah.
And, I don't think we necessarily see that from our politicians in Canada.
Well, it's funny. Like, Corey McKinnon commented on the Liberal one saying, Mark, you should run for Prime Minister. And my response was, I don't know if I want to take a pay cut.
Yeah, pay cut, exactly.
Or the other thing is, I don't know if I want them sifting through my trash.
Yeah.
They might find some dirty diapers.
There's a lot of reasons to not want to do that. So, I don't envy that job for sure. But, I mean, there's a lot of incentive not to get into that business for really skilled people. But you don't need really skilled to see some of this obvious stuff. So that's the head scratcher.
Well, I think they need somebody who can engineer housing starts where they need housing starts.
Yeah. Because,
like, the new CMHC program for purpose-built rentals, you can get 95% of your construction costs for a purpose-built rental if you fall like in their criteria. So affordability, environmental, and accessibility. So I think if you had 30% of your building was affordable, which they deem how that looks like, and you were totally accessible and you had a gold level environmental, you get 95% of your construction costs back from CMHC on a 50-year amortization with like a 1% fee.
They'll give you 95% of your costs back?
Yes.
So you're pretty much just in for the land and 5%?
That's correct.
That sounds like a good deal.
So it's a really good deal, but what happens is the unintended consequences, that money flows to places like Edmonton, which has an 8% vacancy rate, that doesn't really need that to help it grow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't flow to places like Ontario that actually need.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, I go to Hamilton. Hamilton needs at least 1,000 residential units per year just to keep up with demand, right? Yeah. Whereas they're getting maybe 200 to 300. And that's every year. So the shortfall falls every year and they don't catch up.
And it drives up their prices. That's why rents are up. That's why their housing prices are up. So I mean, at the end of the day, like I think we all want to look at it and say, what's the solution? Like, or at least what can we do? Because I always try and boil it down to that. Because we're not going to change the policy.
Nope.
But we can certainly take advantage of some opportunities. And I know, going back to the idea of a crash, I certainly don't think it's likely. Anything could happen because we can't control policy if they change something major. But it seems like there's a great opportunity if you can find something as an investor that will at least break even cash flow, that you're going to be in some pretty good equity in the following year.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, again, CMHC is telling us we're going to have a new record year, which it just seems like we are. I mean, just based on what I'm seeing out there right now.
So lack of inventory, and then you got the money printing, everything else is slowing down, and money seems to be going to real estate. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to think it's going to keep going and keep going strong.
So 17, 25%.
Do we hit 30?
Well, I don't see that we can have another 25% year. Like if we had another 25% year, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to go do a dance somewhere, but other than that,
I
like,
think it's definitely possible, maybe even probable.
so
No one's putting their money on that. Like, you're not going to see any of the major outlets that are making predictions say that.
no,
Because they can't fathom it. How is that sustainable? How could Canadians continue to afford houses at that level of increase in price?
well, that's the problem. I mean, we'll get 20 comments down below saying my kids will never be able to buy. It's screwing the next generation, and it's this and that. And
well, look at who they elected. That is who's doing this.
well, I mean, I see that, and then I say, okay, well, I mean, if they want to live downtown Toronto in a detached house, maybe,
Yeah.
like they can.
But the other side of that is go buy 10 of them that break even at least on cash flow, and then in a few years, your kids will be the wealthiest kids, far wealthier than you were when you were young. So it's just an adjustment of strategy if you want to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
If we want to look on the bright side here.
It's an analogy that I've heard many times, but when people are changing lanes, they look for cars.
Yeah.
Really, you should be looking for holes,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So in this, people are looking at the cars when they should be looking for the holes. And that's, I think, where we differ a little bit, is we look for the holes.
Yeah.
And we find the holes and we do very well with it. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but my parents never made more than $50,000 per year in their life.
They're in that ballpark. Yeah.
Right? So, like, I didn't grow up in an Uber. I just had a fascination with money that I wanted to go learn about it. And once I learned about it, I'm like, oh, well, it's kind of easy to go find out how to make money.
Right. If you can keep the emotion out of it, I think a lot of people just can't get the emotion out of it, right? Like the whole not enough thing. Like, I mean, I know, like, growing up, my parents, like, they would, let's not kind of argue, but they would disagree about money and how it would be spent. And I always thought, hey, the real solution is just get more money so that we don't have to disagree about things like this.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how I think too. Well, especially now, I was like, okay, well, we need to go do that. Okay, well, let's go. How do we figure out the solution to go make the money to go do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously just the other look at this, and people are looking for, thoughts on the housing market. You gotta spin it and make it positive so that we can, keep moving forward.
Any last thoughts before we jump off?
I think we've covered it, Mark.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Everyone wish Andrew happy baby day down below. And thanks everyone for watching. Catch you next time.